Hey guys,
this is Lovin
Friday
with
morning.
Dr.
Welcome
Bisi
to
Laniyan
the
from
Lovin
Sage
Dubai
Clinic.
show.
Should I stay or should I go? We delved into the psyche of cheaters and infidelity, how it impacts relationships.
We spoke about Caroline Stanbury admitting to taking Ozempic. We spoke about mum vlogs and a WhatsApp scam.
And if you want to find out
what are your rights
all
regarding
about that,
the
don't
notice
forget to
periods
subscribe
and
to the
contract
Lovin
termination.
Meets podcast. And so if you are not subscribed to the Lovin Dubai Show podcast, don't forget, subscribe wherever you get your podcast from and enjoy the show.
Should I stay or should I go? Understanding Infidelity with Dr. Bisi Laniyan, a new hit Netflix documentary, Ashley Madison Lies and Scandal, delves into a dating site for adulterers. At its peak, the website reportedly boasted 40 million users worldwide before falling victim to a data breach, which resulted in shattered marriages and devastated lives. Here today to address the emotional impact of infidelity, Dr. Bisi Laniyan from Sage Clinic is back again in the studio. Thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So, of course, the first question that I think everyone would want to know is, why do people cheat?
That is $1 million question. I wouldn't say that there's a specific reason as to why people cheat, but if we think quite generally, there are certain factors that can contribute or maybe increase the likelihood of someone cheating. So, for example, fulfillment in the relationship. Right? So most of us are in relationships, and not just romantic relationships, even platonic relationships, because it gives us a sense of fulfillment and it meets certain needs that we might have. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if someone is feeling maybe unfulfilled or dissatisfied in their relationship, if there's a need, the purpose of a need is that the need is met. So they might seek for that need to be met elsewhere. So that is one reason that can lead or contribute to people cheating.
It's such a difficult topic, and of course, as we kind of jump in, we do understand a serious emotional impact, especially on families, and we will get to that in a little bit. But before we get there, I just wonder if you have any knowledge on, like, is there different reasons for men and women to cheat? Have you seen that?
Again, I'll go back to the needs, right? So I don't have statistics on if men cheat more and if women cheat more. And I think, again, it depends on culture, it depends on society. We're thinking about age ranges as well. But I would say in terms of individual factors, maybe there's certain personality traits that are more likely to cheat, or certain attachment styles. So if you're someone who's maybe a bit more anxious, have like an anxious attachment orientation, then that might mean that you're seeking that validation, that you're seeking that need. And also if you think about life stages as well, some people may cheat earlier on in the relationship, for some people it's later on in life. So it's difficult to make that kind of direct comparison and say blanketly that men cheat more or women cheat more, because it depends across cultures.
In the show, we've seen mixed reactions of infidelity. Yeah. You know, some people get conflicted about staying, leaving, of course, you know, but so is it normal to feel that conflicted about staying or leaving? Absolutely. And why is that?
Absolutely, because life isn't black and white, right? When you're in a relationship with someone, especially when you're in a long-term relationship with someone, you have built a life. And even if you haven't finished building the life, you're building the life. You have a vision. You have a heart goal of where that relationship is going. Sometimes you have investments, family, children, property, financial. So it's difficult to say, actually, you've cheated on me or you've stepped out on the relationship, I'm going to leave. And then we have to remember that there's love there. Right? There's love. So it's hard to sometimes walk away from that. And I think that people who choose to stay shouldn't be made to feel guilty and shouldn't be shamed for staying, because they have their reasons to do so. And we know that people who may have experienced unfaithfulness in relationship, they can rebuild that trust. They can rebuild some of those bridges that may have been burnt. And then also if people decide that actually this has been a very big breach of trust and this has been a violation of what we have agreed, and they decide that actually we're not going to reconcile, I think that decision also should be respected.
It's just not black and white at all, is it? What would you say, I guess, are the common, if possible, to discuss reactions to infidelity?
Oh, so there are many. So we can look at it from the side of the person who may have cheated and the person who experienced the unfaithfulness. So I think on both sides, there might be feelings of shame and sometimes humiliation. Yeah, if you have been the one that have been unfaithful, thinking about how was that information discovered, right? How was it exposed? And with that can come a lot of guilt. It can come a lot of shame. And then if you're the person that has experienced it, people in your community finding out, that can be quite humiliating. If the infidelity was with someone that you know, right? Then we have feelings of like lowered sense of worth and lower esteem. Those feelings of inadequacy, like why me? Am I not enough? Am I unworthy? Am I not attractive enough? Do I not bring enough to the table? Right? So you can start to question yourself. And if we think more of the mental health sort of responses, sometimes we see anxiety, sometimes we see PTSD like symptoms, which I've also experienced in clinical practice, where people have flashbacks and intrusive thoughts that take them back to the moment where they found out. And they're almost stuck in that moment, and it keeps replaying and keeps replaying. So it's very similar to a PTSD because it's traumatic and it's very distressing. Yeah. So those are some of the common reactions that we can see.
You mentioned earlier the word love.
Yeah.
Do you think? I mean, I don't know, but some men, like, or women as well, when they cheat, and they go like, yeah, but I still love you. And then society goes like, yeah, but that is not love. If this person cheated, then that's not love. Do you think love and cheating, how do they come hand under each other?
I think we all sometimes behave in ways that are opposite to our values, yeah, and opposite to our beliefs. And it doesn't mean that we don't hold those beliefs, and it doesn't mean that that those values don't mean anything to us. Right? So there's some things that I would say that, I would never do. Like I would never run a red light. But if you're late for somewhere, you might just do that. Does it mean that I don't respect that law? Right? Or does it mean that I don't observe that value? Maybe not in that moment. Yeah, so when we think about love and thinking, is love enough to sustain a relationship? Well, if you loved me, you wouldn't have done this. But there are many things that we say that we believe in, many things that we say we wouldn't do, and sometimes we act opposite to that. Interesting.
Just to read it like we always think about the victims, and because I feel like those are the stories more commonly told, but would you be able to give any insight, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, on the psyche of the cheater? So shame is one thing, but what if you're in a love marriage or in a love relationship? Can you give us an insight into the thought process of a cheater?
Some cheaters, it's premeditated, right? Some people find themselves in these kind of situations. So if we're thinking about factors that contribute, so I mentioned earlier maybe some personality traits or some attachment style. Sometimes it's opportunity and environment. Yeah, and I'm not saying that this is a prerequisite for cheating, but if you're someone who maybe is frequently away from home, yeah, and maybe you're in an environment that kind of condones or kind of welcomes cheating, it means that you might be more likely, or you could be more likely, should I say, to engage in those kind of behaviors. Does that mean that the core of who you are is an unfaithful and cheating person? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. And there are many people who have cheated and they consider it a mistake and they're filled with regret. Some become so anxious that they start to not necessarily trust themselves. Can I be trusted in a relationship? Can I stay committed to a relationship? And I think that if you're asking yourself those questions, that's a positive sign, because it shows that actually you're aware of some of the things that you struggle with, and you have that self-awareness and you're able to voice it out. And that means that actually you're more likely to accept the help to kind of work through that.
There's this phrase that is like, once a cheater, always a cheater. Do you believe in that? And if do you think that people can change? If let's say they cheated, they go like, oh yeah, I'm never gonna cheat again. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'll speak about that personally. As a person, I believe that people can change. right? I believe that people can change. Even our values can change over time. We're constantly evolving, yeah? And we need to allow each other room to evolve. And I think that it's not helpful to continue to label someone by their mistakes or by something that they have done. And especially if there's remorse or regret, I think that it's quite unfair. I personally believe that people can change. And I think that that's what helps me with the work that I do, right? So I see people in clinic and sometimes they feel like, oh, I can't change, or things are so hopeless in their situation. And I hold that hope for them, that actually we can get through this, yeah, with the right support system, with the right tools, and even you becoming more aware. Absolutely, of course you can change. My mum says to me that you're not a tree, you can move. So if you're not a tree and you can move, then you can evolve and you can grow and you can learn and also unlearn things.
Interesting. So for couples maybe who are watching now who've been through it or going through something challenging, what are kind of, I guess, practical tips you can give to help a couple rebuild trust after they've been through something like infidelity?
Absolutely. I think that therapy is a very good place to start. Because in the therapeutic space, it is non-judgmental, but it's also structured. So it allows you both the space to process and express your experience of the unfaithfulness or your experience of the violation of the relationship, but also even for the person who has cheated as well. It's important that they also have their space. And therapy is a neutral ground. It's not a boxing ring. It's a neutral ground where the therapist is objective and is essentially facilitating discussions and identifying, okay, I've noticed maybe difficulties in communication here. Maybe we can work on some communication skills. I've noticed that actually this is a pattern of how conflict is resolved. Maybe some skills in conflict resolution would be here. I would also say time. Yeah, we've all heard the saying that time is a healer, and I believe that to an extent, that actually giving yourself time, especially when things have just happened and the emotions are high and intense, it can actually be difficult to make a decision in that moment that is actually true to you and is actually what you need. So allow yourself time for the emotions to kind of calm down, for you to process your thoughts. I would also say, practically, a good support network. It's important to talk and it's important to express, but a good support network of friends and family that you can trust. Not friends and family that are going to spread your business, yeah, and share parts of your story without your permission, but people that can just hold that space and listen to you as you share your experiences and as you talk through.
Now, in relationships, there must be some jealousy that happens. Would you say that jealousy is healthy in relationships?
I think that jealousy can be a healthy emotion. It's a valid emotion, that's for sure. Yeah, and I think that jealousy sometimes is branded as one of the bad emotions. Yeah, but I think that jealousy as emotion, first of all, lets us know that, okay, that there is someone else that I need to consider, or there are options, especially for thinking about it in the context of relationship, that there are options out there. So it can be something that keeps us in line and keeps us in check. Yeah.
They always say it's good to have a little bit, but not too much, right?
Not too much.
Not too much. Very quickly before you leave us, so you've mentioned that cheating could happen in terms of opportunistic if people are traveling for work, and we're in a city that's quite transient and a lot of people travel, especially as we come into summer months. And I ask that if infidelity happens and you're in a family with kids, is there any advice you can give on navigating that? Not with your friends and family around you, but just as a family together, working through it with the kids.
Yes, I think that with kids, it's really important to think about what you're sharing with them in terms of their developmental age, what they're able to understand, and emotionally what they're able to make sense of. Yeah, I think that for the parents or for those involved, you can still work things out as a family without necessarily involving the kids as almost like a first line. So think about your wider network. Think about, like I mentioned, like services such as like therapy, etc., just to help you, especially in the the early stages where emotions are raw, right? Involving your children there, children who really need to be protected by us. And of course, we want to expose our children to various situations and emotions so that we can build that emotional resilience. But when things are raw, how helpful is it to include the children on that journey?
True. You know what? Just on this topic, I do realise that absolutely nothing is black and white.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you able to give some very logical responses to our questions. Dr. Bisi, thank you so much for joining us again. This is the end of our Friday show. Thank you, Farah, for being here. We'll be back with you on Monday morning, same time, same place. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.